The radio kept breathing after the man stopped.
That's the part I still hear when the house goes quiet.
We were 5 miles above Lake Crescent, in a stand of old-growth hemlock.
The rain had turned to sleet, and every branch was shining.
The first report came in from a couple staying at the lodge. They heard a woman calling for help from the trees. She just kept saying, "Please come back to the trail." Then the same call came in from a maintenance worker before dawn.
He said it sounded just like his daughter.
He told me this with his face pointed at his coffee cup.
I remember standing under the overhang by the ranger office.
Daniel was there, loading a coil of rope into a truck.
He looked up at the trees and said, "It doesn't like groups."
The first thing we found was his camera hanging from a branch. Not dropped, not snagged. It was hung.
It was too deliberate, too clean.
A volunteer found Peter's red rain shell folded on a stump.
The sleeves were tucked inside, and the zipper was pulled halfway up.
I had never seen hypothermia fold a jacket.
We started up just before dusk. The trail was running with water, and our headlamps caught the rain.
The trees swallowed sound.
We found Daniel's radio lying on a mossy log.
Haskins picked it up and called Daniel's name.
"Say," in a natural American voice. Daniel answered.
The flagging tape ended at a small clearing.
In the center stood an old signpost.
It said, "Trail returns here."
Daniel sat against a massive cedar, his headlamp dark.
He looked gray and exhausted, his eyes tracking us.
He lifted a finger to his lips, signaling us to stay quiet. Haskins ignored the warning and started firing questions. He wanted to know where Peter was. Then, from the trees, his own voice repeated the questions back.
Something moved in the branches above us.
The limbs dipped as if something heavy was stepping across them. Daniel grabbed my sleeve, his grip weak but desperate. A strange sound emerged from the dark beyond the signpost. It sounded like wet footsteps on wood, all out of sync.
Haskins lifted his flare gun and fired it into the trees.
The red light burst against the trees. In that crimson glow, I saw Peter Lang standing there. He was naked from the waist up, facing away from us. Haskins shouted his name, but Peter just raised a hand. Every sign in the clearing creaked at once. Daniel lunged from the ground to scalp him. Peter spoke, saying he had found the way down. I felt my whole body lean toward his voice. Then the radio repeated the words in a different voice. Haskins began walking, claiming his wife was waiting. His wife had been dead for 6 years. I reached for him, but the ground gave way. When I touched the sign, I heard voices inside my teeth. They were all whispering the same instruction.
I ripped my hand away and saw that I was bleeding.
I fired my flare, and the light caught Peter's reflection. His body faced away, but his reflection was smiling. That broke the hold, and I dragged Daniel away. I dragged Daniel through the brush, his body feeling strangely light. The forest seemed to fight us, with branches whipping my face. Behind us, the voices of Haskins and Peter kept calling out. We kept passing the same mossy stump over and over. It felt like we were running in circles, trapped in a loop. I saw my own footprints leading the wrong way in the mud. The rain came back hard, turning the air into silver needles. Then the normal trail finally appeared in front of us. I collapsed onto the gravel, pulling Daniel to safety. Haskins never made it out, and neither did Peter. The official reports just said they were lost to the elements. I signed those papers, knowing the truth was something no one would believe. I visited Daniel one last time before he passed away. He was in a quiet house, his daughter doing homework nearby. He waited until she left to tell me what he saw that first morning. He found wet footprints in the mud behind the lodge.
They were circling a trail sign that hadn't been there before.
Carved into the wood was his daughter's full name.
Years later, a package arrived with no return address.
Inside was a disposable camera, just like Peter's.
I drove to a pharmacy, needing to see the final proof. Most of the photos were ruined by water damage.
But one came through clearly, showing the wooden sign. The words were carved into the top, just as I remembered. Below the sign, there was a fresh, new arrow.
On that arrow, carved in the same hand, was my own name.
It was a promise that the forest hadn't forgotten me.
In the background, Ranger Haskins was standing with one hand raised.
He was still waiting for me to answer.
I know that somewhere, in the deep hemlock, he is still standing there.
I sat there for hours, just staring at that photo.
The house was so quiet, but it felt like the woods were right here with me.
I finally understood that the trail wasn't just a place anymore. It was a part of who I am.
I walked over to the fireplace and threw the photo into the fire.
It curled up and turned to ash, taking that image of Haskins with it.
But even as it burned, I could still hear those footsteps.
I packed my bags that night, just needing to get out of there.
I didn't have a plan. I just knew I couldn't stay in that house anymore.
The road ahead was dark, but it felt better than sitting in that silence.
I drove for days, just putting as many miles as I could between me and the peninsula.
Every forest I passed looked like it was watching me.
I kept the radio off the whole time, terrified of what I might hear.
I stopped at a diner, just trying to feel like a normal person again.
The coffee was bitter, but the waitress was nice.
I couldn't stop staring at the trees outside. They felt like they were waiting for me.
I finally realized that running away wasn't going to work. The forest isn't a place you can just leave behind. It's a memory that follows you. I had to stop running and face what I'd done, even if I had to go back. I turned the car around and headed back. The drive felt way longer this time, and the landscape started to change.
The fog started rolling in, just like that night. But I wasn't scared anymore. Just tired.
I parked at the trailhead, right where I left my truck all those years ago. The forest was quiet, but it felt different this time. It wasn't waiting for me to run. It was waiting for me to listen. I walked into the trees, listening to my boots on the wet ground. I didn't bring a flare or a radio this time, just me. I wanted to see if the forest would finally answer me. When I got to the clearing, everything just went still.
The signs were still there, but they didn't feel like a threat anymore.
I stood in the middle, just waiting for the forest to say something. The silence here is heavy, like being underwater.
These signs aren't just wood anymore. They're markers for everyone who never made it home.
Then I heard it again.
That same wet, rhythmic sound of footsteps.
It's not wind, it's the trail itself.
I opened my eyes, and there he was.
Peter, just standing there between the trees.
He wasn't looking at me, but I could feel him watching.
I didn't reach for anything.
I just said his name.
The whole forest seemed to hold its breath, waiting for an answer. Then the voices started. Not just his, but all of them. They were all whispering the same thing, over and over. I looked at the sign again. My name was carved there.
It wasn't a threat, it was an invitation. I had to make a choice.
Stay here, or go back to the world I left. I looked at the path leading away. I turned my back and started walking. The forest tried to hold me back, but I kept moving, focusing on my own breath. The air started to change. I could feel the cold mountain air again. I didn't look back, not even once. I sat in the car for a long time.
Everything was quiet again.
I drove away, but I know I'll carry this forever.
The silence in my house feels heavier now.
I'm sitting here staring at these old incident notes.
They smell just like that forest.
I found this old photo of the lodge.
It looks so bright and normal here. It's hard to believe it's the same place.
My palm still aches when it gets cold.
It's a constant reminder of that day.
I can still hear those voices.
Daniel knew the truth about those words.
He carried that burden until the end. I wonder if he ever found any peace.
This camera is all that's left of him.
I can't bring myself to throw it away.
It's like evidence in a case that's never closed.
Haskins was a good man. He believed in the rules. But the woods don't care about rules. The wind sounds just like those branches.
I'm checking the locks again.
But I know they won't keep anything out. I'm looking at the old maps again. It all looks so simple on paper.
But the forest decides where the trails go.
I'm sitting here in the dark.
The silence isn't empty anymore.
The trail is still waiting out there.
I close my eyes and I'm back here.
I don't know if I'll ever really leave. But for tonight, I'm safe. I wake up in the middle of the night. The house feels colder than it should.
The silence is waiting for me to say something.
I get out of bed and walk to the kitchen.
I need a drink of water to steady my nerves.
The moonlight makes everything look sharp and unfamiliar. I reach for a glass, but my hand stops midair. I swear I hear a faint rhythmic sound coming from the living room. It's the sound of static, the same static from that night. I move slowly toward the living room.
My heart is hammering against my ribs.
The static is louder now, a wet breathing sound. I reach the doorway and look inside. There's nothing there, just the empty chair. But the sound is still there, coming from the box of papers. I approach the table, my hands trembling. I reach out to touch the box. The static stops instantly. The silence that follows is even worse. I open the box. There's something new inside. Dread and disbelief. A small, black, handheld radio. It looks old, weathered, and completely out of place. I pick up the radio. It feels heavy, cold, and strangely damp. I don't remember putting this in here. I don't remember ever seeing it before today. Suddenly, the radio crackles to life.
It's not static this time.
It's a voice, clear and familiar, calling my name. It's Haskins. I drop the radio, but it keeps talking. It's telling me to come back to the trail? It's telling me the trail is waiting. I'm the only one who can answer. I just stare at the radio on the floor. It's his voice, clear as day, filling the room. I know it's impossible, but it sounds just like him. I pick it up, and the plastic feels freezing cold. The static shifts into a low, rhythmic hum. It's the same sound I heard in the woods all those years ago. I walk to the window and look out at the trees. The forest feels like it's watching me. I realize I can't just keep this thing hidden away anymore. I grab my old ranger jacket from the hawk. It still smells like damp earth and pine needles. I put it on, feeling the weight of it on my shoulders. I step out into the night, and the cold air hits me hard. The forest is quiet, but it's a heavy kind of silence. I start walking toward the old trailhead, radio in hand. The trees here are ancient, their branches locked together. I can feel the history of this place pressing in on me. Every step feels like I'm walking back into a memory I tried to bury. The radio crackles again, but it's not Haskins this time. It's my own voice, repeating what I said 20 years ago. I stop in my tracks, my heart pounding in my ears. I look around, but there's no one there. Just the trees and the fog. I realize the forest isn't just remembering, it's calling me back. I take a deep breath and keep walking. I know exactly where I'm going now.
The trail is waiting, and I'm the only one who can answer.
The trees seem to part, revealing a path I haven't seen in years.
It's the way back to the clearing.
I'm ready to face whatever's waiting for me there. The woods are getting tighter now. Every step feels like I'm walking into a memory I can't escape.
I'm not sure if I'm still on the trail.
Wait, that's not our tape. It's tied in a knot I haven't seen in years. This is exactly where it started. The air smells like a cellar that's been sealed for decades.
Do you hear that?
It sounds like footsteps on a wooden floor. There it is. I haven't seen this sign in 20 years. It says, "Trail returns here." Look at all these markers. They're all pointing toward the setter. This place isn't just a clearing, it's a trap. That's my voice? How is it doing that? It's not just the radio anymore. Is that Peter?
He's just standing there.
He's not moving at all. I can hear them. They're all in my hand. My hand is bleeding. The light is too bright. Look at his reflection. He's smiling at me. I have to get out of here. Don't look back. Just keep running. I finally break through the tree line and stumble onto the main trail. My lungs are burning, but I'm out of that place. The rain feels different here, like it's finally just rain again. I look back, but there's nothing there. They're gone, and I know they aren't coming back. The weight of it is just... it's too much. Months later, I'm just sitting here in the quiet. Daniel's gone, and I'm the only one left who knows. I keep the notes hidden away, like there's some kind of curse. A package showed up on my porch today. No return address, just my name on the box. When I opened it, I knew exactly what it was. I drove into town to get the film developed. The clerk looked at me like I was losing it. I didn't care. I just needed to see the truth. Most of them were just ruined by water. I was almost relieved until I saw the last one. It was perfectly clear, and it made my blood run cold. It shows the clearing, just like I remember. The sign is there, leaning in the red light. And there's a new arrow, nailed right to the post. I look closer at the arrow. My name is carved right into the wood. It's an invitation, or maybe it's a threat. And there, in the background, is Haskins. He's standing there, with his hand raised. He's still waiting for me to answer him. I put the photo down and look out at the trees. The forest is quiet, but I know it's listening. Some trails never end. They just wait for you to come back.